Welcome everybody to both sides of the conversation, Educational Thursdays. I'm your co-host Rico Hamilton,
And I'm John Henry, co-founder of both sides of the conversation.
and I'm just so happy to be back. Thank everybody for their prayers and for their love and their support. Definitely thank you. Shout out to my brother John for definitely holding it down for me. All the phone calls and just being there to support me. That we're family. That we do for each other. Thank you, Aisha. She's somewhere on here behind the scenes making it happen for us. Thanks, sis. I love you. Love y'all. Thank you, John, for your support and being there in a time of need.
For sure.
So, do you want to just roll right into this?
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll
All right,
right
let's roll
into it.
right in. All right, so we got somebody that's super amazing that's really going to go give us some good information. So, for all you out there that's really looking to invest and really looking into getting a home or really trying to build wealth and trying to figure out what that actually look like, we got somebody who's amazing. He's going to introduce himself and he's going to give us more context on what that actually look like when you're trying to move forward into investing into a home or trying to do anything in that sector. Mr. Derrick Gardner, how you doing? Thank you for coming on.
Rico, I'm doing good, boss. I appreciate you and John and the whole both sides of the conversation family putting this together and presenting this opportunity and this platform for me to speak to the people and educate. Like you said, this is an educational platform, and that's pretty much what I'm here to do, just to kind of give you some tools that you could take and run with or tuck in your back pocket for later when you're ready to go and just talk about investing in real estate overall and see what we can come up with.
If you can you tell the folks out there a little bit of your background and where you come from, so that way they can get more context of who you are as an individual. We know you as a good brother that's doing some amazing stuff because everybody don't have this information. Like this is like some hidden gem stuff. Like John, we need him on the next hidden gem show because he got the jewels for us. He got the jewels, diamonds, ice. So we definitely let them know who you are and where you come from.
Absolutely, man. I'm a Bay Area native, born and raised right here in Oakland, California. Well, I live in Hayward now, but born and raised in Oakland. I'm a Skyline guy, Maxwell Park guy, Bret Hart Junior High School guy. Went to Cal on a football scholarship out of Skyline High School. Did my 4 years there as a student athlete, graduated. So happy to say that. So I take that. I like to hang my hat on saying I'm a finisher, right? So upon that, I played in Atlanta in the NFL for a few years, and that's when I got introduced into real estate. So leaving from California, going to the South, in college, I was paying $600 or $700 in rent, and I was able to go to Georgia, and my condo apartment out there was $600 or $700 in its ownership. So that's where the kind of the light bulb went off for me, like, oh, you can actually buy and pay this amount versus rent. So I kind of played the game in my head of renting versus buying or owning versus renting. So it started for me there in about 2000. Between 2000 and 2005, my wife and I, who's actually my boss and broker now, we had about 8 or 10 single family homes. I never really dived into the multiple unit or any commercial, but we had about 8 or 10 that we were kind of managing ourselves along with a partner, my actual realtor, Laneria Ross, who I still work with in Georgia till this day. So that's how kind of I got started. And the funny thing about it, Rico, is I was the first in my family to buy, and then I'm teaching my dad and my other family members how to purchase property. But it's the student teaching the parents, so to speak. So that's a little bit about how I got started in the game. It's been good to me. I don't do as much investing individually now. I'm usually working and representing clients on the buying and selling and liquidation of assets from their portfolio.
That's big. That's a lot of information and a lot of stuff. I'm happy that you have this wealth of knowledge because I definitely would love to have a conversation offline even about that. I don't own yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to owning, especially living in San Francisco with all the money that I waste on rent. It's definitely that time and trying to figure out, okay, what are the next steps and those next moves. So if you want to get right on into it, you can just definitely jump right on in and start your presentation.
All right, so I can share my screen here. Present here. So I just talked a little bit about my personal side. From a professional component, my wife and I, we both started with Prudential, which is Berkshire Hathaway. A lot of people may know the brokerage as Berkshire Hathaway today, and that was the Prudential. So from 2004, when I first got my license, until about 2010, I worked for Prudential, which is now Berkshire Hathaway. Since that time, 2012, my wife and I started LA Bay Properties here in the East Bay. She's from Los Angeles. I'm from the Bay Area. She's my broker boss. We're independent. We run and own and operate our own full service boutique real estate services right here in the Bay Area. So that's my background as a professional licensed California realtor. So let's get right into it. So why real estate is considered a good investment? I think some of the PowerPoint here is obviously, yes, it's true. You can make money from buying and selling properties, which a lot of people see and get excited about. However, it takes some knowledge, right? Some determination and a skill set, right? I think one of the major skill sets is knowing what you do and do what you do best. And so building a team, delegating authority, understanding you need a tax person, you need a lender, you need a realtor, you need a carpenter, you need an electrician. You pretty much have to build this team in order for you to be successful as a real estate investor, not necessarily as a homeowner, but we're talking about real estate investing. And some people call it doors, multiple doors, understanding, are you a grab and hold? Am I grabbing these doors, holding them and renting them out? Is it Section 8? Is it a VA? Is it parolees? How am I going to align myself to turn this asset into creating passive income? So that's the skill set behind it. It's an art and a skill. It also helps to know some of the classic mistakes like myself, other people who consider themselves savvy investors have made in the past. So those are the three kind of topics that we'll cover. How do you make money? What is the measuring rod there? Are you doing it quarterly, annually, monthly? How are you counting your dollars versus cents? The knowledge, building a team, understanding your philosophies and your theories. And then lastly, we'll look at some mistakes that we could possibly avoid if this is an endeavor you want to dive into. All right, so this is a study here that came out earlier this year with COVID running. The source is right there in the bottom right-hand corner. And you have 35%, this is a general population across the US, they believe real estate is still one of the best investment, followed closely by the stock market, our savings account, and then gold, our currency, the Bitcoins and things of that nature are also considered underneath gold on this platform. So any alternative currency is on here as well. But real estate, people still love it. It's tangible. It is the only one out of the big four that you can live in, and it's almost a forced savings account. Or you can rent it out and live in one, and it's still a forced savings account. Just like any other sectors on here, real estate, stock market, savings account, and gold. Yes, real estate is going to have its dips, its ebbs and flows. It's going to go down, it's going to go up. And you, just like anything else, you study the market, you figure out the trend, and you decide when you're going to get in and when you're going to get out. But the general population is still leaning heavily towards real estate as their favorite and best return on their investment. And you can, as soon as I share my contact here, feel free to hit me up with any information. I will have no problem sharing my resources and my research. So let's dive into it here. All right, so real estate. I always say, I get this question all the time. Hey, is it a good time to invest? I want to become an investor. I want to flip properties. I want to grab and hold. And there really is no wrong or right way. You as an individual, or you as a team lead or a member of an investment group, you just have to decide on your strategy. What works well for you? Are you trying to grab multiple doors, right? Understanding that if you do grab multiple doors, meaning more than one single family home, if you have two homes on one parcel, that's a duplex, three is a triplex, and then you have a fourplex. Anything after four, you're shifting zones into commercial. So having a great understanding of your strategy and aligning your strategy with your long-term, short-term, and medium-term goals. Do I want to just manage a single family home? Am I okay with a duplex, triplex, and understanding if I shift over to 5 or more, right? That is now commercial. That's a whole nother ball game. That down payment's different. The inspections are different. So all these things shift when you go +5 or 4+, meaning once you get out of the fourplex zone and you go into the 5-plex zone, Now you're talking about commercial. So having a great understanding of your buying strategy as a group or as an individual. Do I want to grab and hold? Do I want to grab and flip? Is this for a 3-year? Is this a 10-year? Is this a 25-year for my children? Right? We talked about, I think someone mentioned generational wealth. What is the reason? What is your why for buying this property? That's the first thing you have to decide. Then you have to do your due diligence on the neighborhood, right? You have opportunity zones, right? That is another way for the rich to stay rich. But if you're savvy enough, you can take advantage of it too. Understanding that if I buy a house or a duplex, single family, all the way up to a fourplex, we're just going to stay in residential. I buy that for 300,000. I sell it for 600,000. There's tax implications, 3 1/3, right? Not almost $90,000, close to somewhere in there. You got to kind of compensate for taxes and losses and hiring and paying other people. But opportunity zones allow you to take that money years down the road, invest it in the opportunity zone, and it's tax-free investment as long as your investment stays there. I believe I have the link for 10 plus years. There's another component called 1031 exchange, which allows you to buy, sell, gain, and put that money into another property and not pay taxes. So real estate investors do have the opportunity to not only make money, but to defer or reduce their tax obligations on that money. Is this a green zone, right? Cannabis is real and it's here. Am I buying into a green zone? Am I okay with that? Am I not okay with that? So once you decide what you're buying and how you're buying, make sure you do your due diligence on the neighborhood. If you're buying into a condominium or a neighborhood that has an HOA, they may have rental restrictions, right? You got to understand the rent to owner ratio. If you're thinking about going Section 8, you have to keep your property up in a certain fashion. They're going to come by and check your light fixtures and your outlets. All those things have to be in place. So do your due diligence, build your system, do your due diligence. I already talked about it a little bit. Having a professional team, all right? You do what you do. If you work at BART, if you're the CEO of your company, that's what you do, right? And then there's a team that does what we do. And your job is to figure out a team that you can align to take advantage of our knowledge, our skill set, our experience, but make sure that your fingerprint is on that team, that you're present. Having an attorney is very, very important when it comes to dealing with trust sales, understanding probate sales. New York, I know for sure that they use attorneys. We use escrow companies here in California. New York, they use attorneys for their closing. So understanding what state you're in, what parameters you're in, demographically, things can change from A to B, real quick. A good, reliable handyman, a home warranty is a thing that I give all my clients, and it's a umbrella of handyman, I would say. If your toilet goes out, that's good. You don't want to be spinning your wheels and spending your time on fixing toilets and sinks. So make sure you have your professional team ready. And then I would say that this is probably the most important one, is doing your due diligence on all your estimated costs, right? You're going to have insurance, monthly mortgage payments. If you're using an FHA product, which means you're going to say, hey, I'm going to live in one and rent out the other 3 units, you're going to have mortgage insurance. So all these things, you have to count your costs so you can figure out not your gross, but your net. And then, is this a good return on your investment? Is this a good strategy for you to implement? All right, so we talked about some key things, right? It's an asset, right? Investors you can predict cash flow if you got steady income, a steady stream of income coming in, as long as all your units are occupied. That's another thing I would say you have to account for when it comes to cash flow is vacancies, right? Speaking with a property management, if you buy by Lake Merritt, I always suggest, hey, interview 3 property managers in that immediate area. What is the predictability of keeping all your units filled? And if they are vacant, how often and for how long? Understanding that it's a good way to diverse your portfolio. We talked about stocks, we talked about gold, we talked about real estate. So having more than one, I'm not biased. I say, hey, if you can do all 4, do all 4. I love real estate because that's what I know, and we tend to lean towards what we know. So it's a good way to build wealth, but making sure you keep those things in place. All right, so cash flow, keep staying with the positive. How people measure cash flow, I tend to see two industry standards when it comes to investment property. Cap rate. So the cap rate is a way to look at your money yearly. It's an annual rate. They average the best rates. This is a sweet spot, 7.5% cap rate. Let's use $1 million. You buy $1 million fourplex, okay, and you make $100,000 off of that annually. Okay, that is a 10% cap rate. But then you have to consider your deductions: water and garbage, insurance, PG&E, property management, taxes. And if that reduces down to $75,000, this is a 7.5% cap rate off of that $1 million investment annually. This is a sweet spot. So if people are saying, hey, if I buy $1 million fourplex and my net return annually is 7.5%, that is a cap rate, which means I make $75,000 annually off of this investment. Versus, depending on how you work psyche for your math, they also use another golden rule, which is a 1% to 2% rule. Now this is monthly, right? Am I making $10,000 to $20,000 per month off of that same $1 million investment? So it's apples and oranges. It is what works for you, what works for your accountant. How does this align with your group? Do you have people that think in 12-month increments, or is it more, let's dumb it down and compartmentalize it and say, I want to make sure we making $10,000 to $20,000 a month, and then I can calculate my gross after that. The cap rate is shrinking it down to your net, and it's doing it annually. The 1% to 2% rule is a monthly measuring rod for cash flow, right? So you have to decide. Some people may be okay with making $1,000 a month. What works for you? There is no wrong or right way, like I said in the beginning. It just has to align with your philosophy, your theories, and your group if you are in a group, right? We talked about some of the tax breaks over here. 1031 exchange, you're going to hear this if you get into real estate investment. It's a great, great opportunity to buy a property, sell it, take that money that you made and put it into another property without having to pay taxes. Now, there is some time restrictions. You would have, I believe, 180 days from that sale of property A before you buy property B. Also, it has to be equal or greater value. If I sell for $750,000, I need to buy for at least $750,000 to take full advantage of that tax implication. Also, you could sell a single family and you can go buy a duplex and a triplex. It doesn't have to go single family to single family, but it does have to be used for an investment property. You cannot sell an investment property and go buy a primary residence and take advantage of the tax break through 1031 exchange platform. It doesn't work like that. Like kind, investment for investment, but it does not have to be duplex for duplex. It could be duplex to parking lot. It could be single family to car wash, right? Because those are investment properties. And as long as you're renting it out and you're making money, it's considered an income property. Another reason why people do it, appreciation. You live here in the Bay Area from 2018 to 2020, our property has appreciated greatly. People are refinancing, taking advantage of the low interest rate. These are all positive components of owning property, owning investment property, where hopefully not only is your renters or your tenants covering your note, but you also have that 7.5% cap rate or that 1% to 2% rule that you're taking advantage of. Depending on where you are throughout the states, it's kind of hard to do in some places. It's easier to do in others. So once again, you just have to decide, what is your number? What's my bottom line number in which I'm willing to take this risk? Or what is the max number where I just say, okay, it's a complete go, I'm all in. So that's for you and your group. But over time, real estate does tend to increase. Like I said, it's ebbs and flows. 2004 was bad. 2012, things started to creep back up. 2020, things are amazing right now for sellers due to the combination of low inventory and high interest rates. So there's going to always be some dynamics in there that are unpredictable, but over the years, over the course of the history, real estate has appreciated over the times, even through recessions like we're quote unquote in right now. Real estate has continued to grow because it is an asset that everyone needs to have, right? So it gives you opportunity to build equity and wealth as you, even if your property doesn't appreciate. Say you buy it for $800,000, you buy a duplex for $800,000. You have a daughter or two daughters like I do, a 7 and an 8-year-old. And in 20 years, or you could do a 15-year or a 30-year, or you could do a 30-year and force yourself to pay it off in 15. But let's just take 15 years. You expedite it. You pay that thing all the way down, it's paid off. If it didn't appreciate and you left that to your family, to your children's children, they have an $800,000 asset that they can go liquidate at any time or just continue to collect rents from the tenants that are in there. So it is a building block. Whether appreciation is on the forefront, it's almost like you have to look at it as this is a savings account. I'm taking my money out of Chase, out of Wells Fargo, right, out of a Bank of America, and I'm putting it at 1234 East 2nd Street. So I'm taking this 800 grand out the bank where I would probably make 0.2%. I put it in the duplex on East 2nd Street with the possibility of equity growing at a 3 to 5% annual rate. That is your bank account. The bricks become your bank account. And it's hard for us to see that because we're trained to click the button on our phone and see that cash flow there. But if you can get the vision of that cash flow being in that brick, in that tile, and in that composition shingle, maybe your portfolio does something different. And that's what real estate does. It is a great dynamic to diversify your portfolio. Whatever assets you have right now, 401ks, gold, stocks, great. If you're considering real estate as an investment component, it is a great tool for diversification. All right, so now we're looking at the mistakes that we make. All right, so we talked about the positives, we talked about the appreciation, the tax advantages that they have, taking advantage of, you could taking advantage of real estate in the sector that you have this asset. And in today's market where interest rates are below 3%, people are actually pulling money out of their properties, lowering their interest rate, right? So going from, I just had a conversation today, going from $1,500 monthly payment down to $900, pulling money out and reducing his payment at $600 while pulling, a minimum of 50 grand out. It's a great opportunity there. But then on the flip side of the coin, there's also mistakes that you have to be aware of. These are mistakes that I made. And if you talk to someone and they're transparent and they've been in the real estate game for a while, I'm pretty sure they have mistakes, right? So getting into a bad mortgage, right? Now, what I talked about in the beginning, understanding your why and what type of investor you are. A hard money loan today is probably going to run you about 10%, but they're easier to acquire than the normal standard loan from your bank. So also on the flip side, they're going to require maybe 30% down versus 3 to 20%. So you put 30% down, you take this 10% interest rate because it's easier to acquire. But if I'm going to go in and flip it, I'm only going to hold it for 90 days. Maybe that makes sense. When you look at the outcome, the strategy of entering and exiting, right? It's the input and the output. How do I get in? How do I get out? I would not advise you to take a hard money loan with 30% down with a 10% interest rate if you're going to hold on to this puppy for a year. If it's something you want to hold on to, you got to figure out a way to go closer to conventional lending. But if it's a flip, get in and get out, 90 days, maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but that is an option. Knowing what type of house you're looking for, single family, multiple family, vacation destination, all these things that we're talking about. I can't even recall, I'm drawing a blank on when you take a vacation and you're staying in those homes versus the apartment buildings and versus the hotel. But things like that, is this a vacation destination? Is it a multiple home or one home? Understanding what type of home you're looking for. If you don't have that idea, right? If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. So have a ground rule, have a philosophy, have a theory, and stick to it. You can sleep better knowing that you did things your way and you won, or you did things your way and you took an L. I think you would be okay versus just kind of going with the flow. You cannot go with the flow. You have to have a plan. You have to figure it out, right? Figure out your purchase plan, like we talked about, in the best fit for you. Um, are you borrowing money? Are you getting gift funds? Are you syndicating funds? Or are you doing this on your own? Are you pulling money out of your 401k to acquire this asset, or do you just have enough in your savings? You have to figure it out. Look at interest rates. Interest rates are different, right? You see things floating around 2.75, 2.8. If you go into the bank and you say, I want to buy an investment property, they're going to say we need 20% down, and your interest rate may be 3.5, unless you use the product, a FHA product, which allows you to do a dynamic blend to live in one and rent one. So you can kind of say, I'm going to live here in apartment A and I'm going to rent apartment B. Now you can still take advantage of those primary residence interest rates and the minimum down payment. Skimming on your research, right? You want to be able to make sure you do your research. We talked about this earlier, whether you're going to be a land developer. Say you want to, like I talked about, you want to buy a piece of lot. You want to buy a piece of land, some dirt. And you say, hey, I'm going to buy this lot for $100,000. It's going to cost me $350 per square foot to build a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home. This makes sense because I could sell it for $700 and I'm up $350,000. Let's go, pull the trigger. Did you do your research on city planning, on permits? Did you do your research on the surrounding counties and streets? What's the plans next door? Are there any restrictions on if you wanted to go linear and do a 3-story? Do you have to turn your drawings in to your neighbors? Is there water? Is there plumbing? All these things you have to consider it. So do your research on whatever dynamic you want to invest in. Make sure you're aware. You don't have to know, but find someone that knows, right? And then I have some questions on here that every investor should ask themselves when considering. So, right, so here we go. This is the list of questions, part of your research. Is the property near a commercial site, right? Or will the long-term construction be occurring in the near future? So if you buy in downtown Oakland, you see all the cranes going up, is that a turn on or a turn off for your investment project? Check with the local city planning department. Everywhere that there's a construction zone, there's typically a sign of postage of what the plan is, what's going up, what's going down, and for how long. Are there other single families in this? This may be a commercial zone, so you have to check. It's a thing called zoning, right? R1, R2, R3. Check the zoning. You can't just assume that you can build what you want to build because you bought that piece of land or you bought this house. So before you get to buying, now what you could do, there's contingency periods. So you can say, hey, seems like a good idea, seems great, let me get in the contract. And then there's going to be some time frame in there, contingency period for you to do your research. But it's better to do your research first, have a great understanding of what you desire as an investor or an investment group, and then you can move forward and really narrow down your targets. Is the property located in a flood or fire zone, right? Are there rodents? Are there termite problems? There's a form here, NHD. It's a natural hazard disclosure form. It is the only form that the seller, by California real estate rules, have to provide. And it is a third-party form, geographical. They send the satellites down and they let you know if it's in a fire, flood, or earthquake zone. Are there rodent problems? Are there termite problems? There usually are rodents, a lot of rodent problems in newer developments. It's usually rural land, it's open, the builders are leaving their snacks out at night. And so you want to make sure if you're buying into a new development or an area in which is being developed, look into that. It could be an issue. You know, raccoons could be in the attic upon closing if it's a new development just because they got in there and no one noticed. So does the foundation have permit issues? Make sure the foundation is right. Do your home, do your termite, do your roof inspection. If you're buying commercial, say you're buying that car lot, that gas station, that grocery store, Now you're talking about phase 1 and phase 2 environmental inspections. So know what beast, know what animal you want to get involved in so you can do your research on that. And those are two totally different things. Once you get, like we said, past 4 units, we're shifting into commercial. And now that requires phase 1 and phase 2 if it's anything to do with cars, water, oil, gas. If the area surrounding it, say you buy an apartment building and you're next to a gas station, you may need to get a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental inspection. Just depends on what the city code and what the lender requirements are. And typically, some of these items that showcase themselves in these inspections may need to get cleared. So, hey, show me a clear phase 2 and we'll fund the loan. Where's that money coming from? Is it the seller? Is it the buyer? That's why you have to build your team of negotiators and your team of professionals that understand these items and all the nuances that come along with buying investment property. What is the new house and what does it cost to replace? We talked about that. I think here right now, somewhere between $250,000 to $350,000 is what your building cost would be if you were to buy a piece of land. Now, like we talked about, but does it have water? Does it have PG&E? Is there an easement? Does my neighbor need to drive down my driveway to get to their house? All these things come into place. Why is the seller selling? So these are good questions. Hey, this is a sweet deal, but why is he selling? Right? So they fill out a form, a TDS form, and an SPQ form, transfer disclosure statement, seller property questionnaire statement. You get some answers there, but this is where the grassroots campaign has to come in at. You got to be act like you're running for city council, knock on some doors, go into a few grocery stores, hang out on a Friday or Saturday night, get a police report, look on meganslaw.com for registered sex offenders, just get a true understanding of the surrounding dynamics on work weeks, on work days and weekdays, also on the weekends. HOAs, homeowners association, how does that fee come into play? Is it affecting your bottom line? If so, can you afford it? CC&R, covenant conditions and restrictions. So these last two, HOAs and CC&Rs, these are when you pull up into the private gated communities, right? If there's a gate, there's probably a HOA. If there's a HOA, there's CC&Rs, covenant things you can and cannot do. You cannot park 3 cars on the street. You cannot paint your door burgundy or gray. You have to keep your weeds cut down, right? So I will also suggest if you do buy an investment property that has HOAs and CC&Rs, if your schedule allows, join the board, right? Understand what the stakeholders are talking about. Understand the plan, the financial plan for the HOA. Are we doing roofs? Are we doing landscaping? Are we doing painting? Are they changing the rules? Get involved if you want to create change, but more importantly, counter change to see how these HOAs may affect or may not affect your bottom line. All right, so now we're in this investment property. Typically, very rarely do you find a sweet deal where it's vacant. If it is vacant, a lot of people are on it. The deals in the dark, meaning they may have tenants. They may have a tenant that's moving. They may have a long-term tenant that's paying $500. They may have a brand new tenant that's paying $5,000. Understand your tenant's needs, right? There are rules and restrictions that protect tenants greater than owners. The renters versus the owners. The renter will usually win. So you have to understand that. Are you buying near a college campus? Is your goal to rent out to single families, young families, college students? What is your aim? What is your ideal tenant? And then you buy in that area. Low crime rates, good schools, typically will attract probably a family with that is in school, probably a 2-parent household. Now, if you get more in the downtown area, now you may get a younger single professional. So you have to decide who you want to attract and why do you want to attract those people. Nightlife, bars, restaurants, close to AC transit, all those good things are very, very important. So the beach life, Alameda comes to mind. So kind of usually attract to what you're attracted to. So, just kind of figure out those things. But the tenant needs are very, very essential. I guess one trick of the trade that I've learned is you can check on your property as much as possible, bring some snacks, be good to your tenants, and typically they're good to you. You know, if they call you and say we got an issue, try to address it as soon as possible. If you're going to raise their rent, give them the proper notice, right? Things like that tend to go very well. We talked about getting poor finance. I got some links on here that talks about some financial education, some interest only, some adjustable rates, fixed mortgage rates. Is it a 7-in-1 ARM, which means my interest rate will be 3% for 7 years, but entering into that 8th year, it's going to go with the market's current rate, which could be 5 or it could be 15. Or am I willing to take that risk? But if it's a short-term hold, and I know every 5 years I sell and I buy, given, you know, everything stays normalized, then maybe you could take a 7-in-1. If you like stability and you like to be predictable with your cash flow and your income, then 30 to 15-year fixed rate income. Understanding adjustable rates, they don't even do, I don't think you can get an interest only loan anymore. Maybe on a hard money second you can. Some things like that, or a soft second, but just really, really getting poor finance can mess everything up. So understand your financing down to the detail. If you get pre-approved by a lender, within 3 days, they should be able to provide to you an estimated cost sheet. You should be able to see your interest rate, how many points are going to charge you to perform this loan. You should be able to collaborate with the local title company, understanding city and county transfer tax. There's a difference between your down payment and closing costs. People don't often forget about that when they're considering their financing. If I'm buying here in Oakland and I'm buying an investment property, I need 20% down, and then I need to account for about 3.5% of that purchase price for my closing costs. It's $15 per 100,000 for city transfer tax in Oakland. It is the highest, one of the highest in Alameda County, if not the highest. So understanding from county to county, city to city, the variables change. And you need someone to understand that, and you need to calculate those costs based off those parameters. All right, so key takeaways. We talked about appreciation possibility. We talked about profit generating business activity depending on the property, right? It could be tenants, it could be business. You can use it as a vacation home. So you have things, you can use it as a tax write-off. There's several benefits to investing in real estate. We talked about the stable cash flow, the tax advantages through 1031 exchange, through the opportunity zones. Are you buying in the green zone? Are you renting it out to parolees? Are you renting it out to, what was the second one? VAs, vets are another good program to get into. So you have all these different sectors that need housing, because there is a housing shortage. And if you're in position to acquire something and become, you know, a liaison with the program, it could be a great benefit, but it has to be something that you're willing to do, that you trust, and you have to do your research. Okay. People that know, they tend to classic mistakes, understanding the classic mistakes that we made, right? Hanging out in the neighborhood, like I talked about that, understanding CCNRs, understanding HOAs, understanding city planning, zoning, understanding what's going on. What is the city doing in the next 5 years? So do I grab it and hold it for 5? Or if I don't like it, I grab it, I make sure I get rid of this before the 5-year time frame comes up. So understanding those city planners, do your due diligence. I cannot express that enough. Be present. If you're buying something, be present at the inspections. Be present at the meetings. Be present when you're getting your drawings and you're getting your permits, if you can. Or send a team member that you trust that could take notes, that you can ask questions. Find out who the stakeholders are. Who are the decision makers? Who can manipulate? Who can expedite? Who can slow things down? You have to do your research. Build a team, very important. Build a team, very important, right? We know what we do best. I don't work on cars, so I'm not gonna try to work on my car. I sell houses. I'm gonna take my car to the dealership. Do that every time there's a light come on. That's not what I do. Do what you do best, and be careful about the estimated cost. Ask questions. Get it in writing. It's not official. I'm just take this from a contractual standpoint. Verbally, we could talk all day. Yeah, I'm gonna sell you this house for $750,000. Let's meet up tomorrow. It's good. You know, bring $7,000. We're gonna open up escrow, and you think you got a deal. You don't have a deal. You don't have a deal until that contract is signed by both parties and received by your agent if you have a realtor or an agent representing you. So be careful thinking that you have something. You walk into this fabulous duplex and there's dishwashers and there's washer and dryers and there's a stainless steel stove and a chandelier hanging. Is that included in the sale? Not if it's not in writing. Get it in writing. Get everything in writing. That is one detail that is often passed up. If it's not on paper, if it's not in that contract, it's not part of the deal. Then you move in, refrigerator's gone, stainless steel stove is gone, dishwasher's gone, and you look at the contract, if those boxes aren't checked, it's not checked. It wasn't part of the deal. So get someone understanding the cost, understanding real estate, understanding terms, understanding zones, understanding timing, understanding escrow. There's hundreds of things that goes on with this purchasing of real estate to become an investment, to become a great investment and not a bad one. Okay, so the bottom line is, it's good, but there's also some drawbacks, right? The good thing is your money's there, it's in the walls, but you have to be able to maintain your credit, maintain a job if you want to withdraw liquid from that asset and hang on to it. You can always sell. You can always sell and cash out. But if you want to refi, pull a little out, take advantage of, if it's today, take advantage of these historic low interest rates, and your credit's not where it was when you bought it, you may not be able to refinance. So if you get into real estate, you got to stay on top of things. Another thing is acquiring the asset. If you go buy gold, if you go buy stock, you buy that today. Click of a button, you got your stock. Real estate takes a while, right? You put some money up, you do some due diligence, you turn in some paperwork, 30 to 60 days later, you've acquired this asset at a percentage, right? 20% down, the bank still holds the deed until you pay off that lien that's attached to that deed. So it's a little different than the other components that we discussed, but it still shows to be the favorite, and it grows at a greater and rapid pace a lot of times, right? Like I just mentioned, that it could be completed in seconds. You get help from your broker in a few weeks and you find the right property. So work with someone who knows the market, the local market in which you want to be in. Work with someone who understands and can put you in contact with builders, with handyman, with city planning, who can guide you and direct you to get the answers that you need so you can make sure you're making an educated, this is an education platform, an educated decision. Okay, so just to recap, get your system right, understanding why it's good, avoid the mistakes that is bad. I'm gonna show you a quick documentation on here that my friend Brady puts together for me when I'm talking to buyers, and it's about what type of documents you would need going into the bank: W-2s, tax returns, bank statements, work history. So this is your portfolio. FICO score, your credit has to be pulled, a hard pull. There will be an inquiry on your account. They will call your job. You cannot purchase any major assets for those 30 to 60 days that you're on hold. So no couches, no cars, no jewelry. Your life is on pause until you acquire this asset. I'm Derrick Gardner, and I'll show you the anticipated loans here with LA Bay Properties. If you guys have any questions, my information is going to come up here shortly. I'll show you the anticipated loan documents, but I want to show you an out real quick. This is just an extra, since it's on here, I'll talk about it. When you get in a contract, the seller's locked in, but the buyer's not. So if you agree to buy it for $750,000, as long as you're performing as a buyer, the seller has to go with the flow, right? So you're going to have some contingencies: an appraisal, which is dictated by your lender, a loan, which is dictated by your lender, and your inspections. We talked about this. Do your due diligence: home, termite, roof, Megan's Law, police reports, secret agent, hang out on a Friday or Saturday night. These three together are your contingency. This is your out, because you're going to need to put up a deposit. You want to buy $1 million house, they're going to say, give us 30 grand, give us 15 grand, show us a good faith deposit. These protect your deposit. As a buyer, you exercise your appraisal, your loan, or your inspection contingency to back out of the deal. The seller cannot back out as long as you, as an investor or a buyer, is performing in the contractual timeframes that are set. Okay, so a lot of people are concerned, like, hey, I got to put this money up. How am I protected? This is how you protect it, through your contingencies, through your appraisal contingency, through your loan contingency, and your inspection contingency. Protects you as a buyer to where if you get in and you don't like the way it smells, or you don't like the way it look or taste, you can get out, exercising one of these contingency clauses that is written in the contract. Looking for a good agent, I'm your guy. It's my contact information. I'll share this with John and Rico. They'll have this information wherever you can find it at. Anytime if you got a question, I'm game, man, to answer.
Wow, great presentation. Another good presentation. This was right on time. Thank you, Derrick. That was very informative. I mean, I got a couple questions too. I mean, this was just a good follow-up. We just had Rhea Cotton. I'm not sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know Rhea with Cotton Realty.
Yeah, Rhea came on, did an amazing presentation, and you followed
Awesome.
up with another great one for our people. I mean, here at both sides of the conversation, we're trying to educate our community, the Black and Brown community. We're trying to push home ownership, get our people to own, right? Because we pay a lot of money in the Bay Area for rent, and it's like you said, we're not leaving generational wealth for our children. Most of us have kids or grandkids, and we need to be thinking about these type of investments and making these big purchases. But it does take time. It is a grind, and there's a lot of stuff. And I'm glad you broke it down the way you did. And even for me, I just wish, you know, a great proposition didn't pass, Proposition 21. I remember when I first purchased my home, I was looking at the 4-unit deal, the FHA live in one and rent out three. And I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good deal for people right now, especially with Proposition 21 not passing, the rent control measure. You could go in there and make some changes. One of the struggles that I was having looking in Oakland and some of the Bay Area counties was the people in the places. You couldn't really go up on the rent. You couldn't really do anything, even though you're living in there. It was kind of, your hands was kind of tied on how you can move people around. And like you said, if you try to move people out with family members or something, they had to still stay there for 2-3 years. So it really impacted you. But with this proposition not passing here in California, with all of the gentrification happening, big money, redevelopment, development in the state of California, they voted it down because people want to make money. So all you new people out there that's saving, stop spending your money on Birkin bags and Gucci and Prada and all these cars, and let's start putting our money up and get ready to make a big asset grab right now. Because in California, you can actually you don't have to worry about this rent control. You can actually make some money. But definitely, Derrick, that was some good information on getting
what thing you can, I mean, it's a theory. In theory, I guess, is a musical chair. So say you do buy that fourplex and you want to kind of raise your rents. If you can get 1 unit vacant and you can bring that up to standard with the flooring, the walls, the paint, maybe you can persuade your tenant like, hey, I upgraded unit A. Can you move into unit A so you can upgrade unit B? And then you kind of go through that 4 times until you kind of have all of them upgraded, because they don't want to pay probably because it's not updated, right? It's not up to the flooring, the gas lines, the heat, the windows. But if you can play musical chairs, if you can move tenant A into unit B and then kind of go through the fixing them up one at a time, then you can probably maximize your rents.
Yeah, that's great information. And the cool part about it is we got a brother Monty Maxwell coming on. He's actually a lender.
Ooh.
So he's coming on shortly to actually talk to people about the loans that they have, the grants, the different programs out there to get the money. Because there are a lot of grants in California. We don't know what's going to happen in this presidential election, but I know in the housing industry, there's a big chunk of money that's going to come to help get Black and brown people in home ownership. And this is going to be the grab. So we got to definitely keep educating the people, get ready. There's going to be some resources coming across the United States to help get Black and brown people into housing. And we definitely want to have all the connections and stuff. So Definitely good information. I mean, especially you talking about the city planning and understanding the local codes. You know, a lot of times people talk about buying land, but they don't understand the amount of cost that it takes to get the utilities on the property, understanding the property lines. And like you said, sometimes you might be on the easement. It might be stuff that's tied to your property, that's tied to the county or to the city. So it is a lot of information. So building that team is very important. I'm glad you came on and reach out to the brother, man. Rico, go ahead, get in there, Rick.
Hey, one grant, real quick, John. One grant, AC Boost is about to come back. It's $100,000. It is an equity share grant, meaning if you buy in, if they give you the whole 100, their percentage, let's use 400,000. That's 25%. They will on the back end want 25% of the equity that grow, but it's a way to get in. AC Boost, they're just now coming back. $100,000, Alameda County is a great way to at least get in if you're looking for home ownership.
Well, I ain't got nothing, it was self-explanatory. Normally, I always got something. This time I ain't got nothing. You explained it too perfect for me. So, but I definitely need to be in contact with you, me and the wife, and start having those and engaging in those conversations.
Yeah. One of the other things that you was talking about the businesses and the
correct
the neighborhoods and stuff. Good information to tell people. I know Rhea kind of went over it, but definitely, man, moving in these communities. If you're not from there, definitely got to do a lot of research. Finding out definitely the Megan's Law, because you got to think too. If you're thinking in the mind of a landlord, and you are thinking about getting units and renting them out, right? Most people have kids, so you want to think about locations, the schools around, right? Because you might be renting people who have kids. Definitely, are you close to like freeways and transportation, things of that nature? Good information to have. It was something else I wanted.
Handicap accessibility. If you need, seniors, because you can't discriminate typically. So understanding, I believe it. The gap, stair railings, all those things are very, very important. Everything that's a health or a hazard it should be on high alert when you're talking about investment property. Those are two things, water heaters, the gas line from your water heater, making sure that there's exit for that. If it's a combustion, how does the hot water get out? Making sure all those fine lines, right, the minutia, the small details of that property are taken care of.
Yeah, and I definitely always tell people to take it one step further. I mean, typically, most time your real estate agents, I mean, this, people, they tell you get a home inspector. I always tell people you're going to spend a lot of money to buy your first house, right? That's a lot of money, and I always recommend, taking it a step further if you can afford it to have the individual inspections done on your electrical, your plumbing, and your heating, right? Because these home inspectors, they kind of like have a little bit experience of everything. And what I've found from a lot of people purchasing homes is there's a lot of stuff that they don't catch and it end up costing them money.
Right.
So sometimes upfront to pay, $300 to $500 to have an individual HVAC company come out, a plumbing company come out. That extra $1,500, $2,000 to have each trade come out and check is kind of worth it, especially if you're talking about spending $1 million, $3 million. The last thing you want to do is have some little rinky dink. He went and took a state quick test and come out there and miss a bunch of stuff that end up costing you, a lot of money. I mean,
you can leverage that, right? You can leverage that cost. You just mentioned $1,500, $2,000. I mean, to me, that's still some cheese that I want to hold on to if possible. So you can leverage that during your contingency time frame, right? We talked about the contingency slightly at the end. The closer you get to your contingencies being due, you can ask for those things. They don't have to request it, but you can make it your ask. Like, hey, my home inspector noted the junction box was a little loose. Can you, cover the cost for me to hire an electrician to come out? Yes or no? They can say yes or no, but as long as you're making them aware of it, that, hey, I'm concerned about this and I might think about leaving, you never know how the sellers are going to respond.
Yeah.
You always ask for it, but you definitely want to be present, like you said. Be there.
Yeah, and a lot of times, sometimes too, they'll say, well, hey, we'll take it off the selling price of the house.
Yeah.
90% in California, most of the time the seller gonna say, hey, we'll just take it off the price, so they don't have to come out the pocket, and then you're gonna hit with that.
Yeah, take it though. You're right. You gotta spend that.
Yeah,
Make
so
sure
that
it's right.
information, people out there, listen to Derrick. That was good information. Because I remember when I was going through the process, you could be in a county that's not really considered a flood zone. You know what I'm saying? It could not be labeled as a flood zone, but because in California we have a lot of flat cities, when it is heavy rains, it can flood under your house. You might need some pumps.
Yep.
5-10 grand, you know what I'm saying? Easy. So it's just little things like that. So definitely having that team is a definitely needed thing there. That was some good information. And having those tools, and that's the real purpose of this educational Thursday, is to get these tools. So when you start dealing with these realtors, you can ask the right questions, because you got to remember everything's gonna be happening fast and everybody's trying to get there. So they're gonna be going quick, quick, quick. And you got to be able to ask those questions and know and be patient. One of the biggest things that I could say is, especially going through the closing process. I mean, these lenders, these underwriters are going to ask you a million questions. They're going to ask you to send 1,000 pieces of paper. And you'll be like, I just sent this last week. Why you need
Yeah.
another one? And it's a frustration thing, but after the 2008 collapse,
Yep.
you know, it just made it tough, and that's why I tell people sometimes when people take advantage of people, it comes back to bite us. You know what I mean? It's just like all of this EDD scams going on now in 3 years, 2 years, when people really out of work trying to apply for it, they're going to send you through hell and back
I mean,
to
don't
try
even
to
do
get some funding. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a negative impact, but yeah, that was good information tonight. I definitely want people to reach out to you with any other information that they need. Rico, did you see anything in the chats? I was looking. I seen some people saying what's up to you, but I didn't really see any questions. But definitely we'll be able to connect you with the people. Um, Now, what do you think about one thing I do before I get you off? I want to get your
sure.
perspective.
Hmm.
In San Francisco, I know you in Alameda County. It's a little different, but one of the big things going on. I know you had that talked about the $100,000. I think they have some of that going on in San Francisco. But what's your opinion on these co-ops, man, for our people? I mean, this is just for Black and brown people that we're speaking about. We understand that these co-ops work for some people, but there's a big push going on in San Francisco to give people, um, these co-op opportunity, co-op opportunities, and I'm totally against it, because one, it don't give Black people a true opportunity of home ownership, because you don't get the tax write off. You really don't understand who the owners and developers are of the building. And what tends to happen is these co-op opportunities, um, the rules and everything becomes, 3-4 times worse, for the people in our community. And you know how we live, we need 5 cars, and
Yeah.
they make it real hard. It's like being in an apartment with this false realization of ownership, but they say it's ownership, but
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your thought
It's
process?
well, like I said in the beginning, right? Input and output, understanding how am I getting in and how am I getting out. So if your exit strategy is going to become cloudy, because now co-op, right? You a percentage. You own a percentage of the deed, maybe, and there's a greater collaboratory component there. If me, you, and Rico, if you, John, Rico, and Derek, if we're all three going in on this co-op, we 33, 33, 33, but everybody credit got to be good, right? Because there's always an assumable loan process going on. You're going to assume the percentage of this loan, and I'm going to say, oh, it's tough. It's a tough dynamic. And then the other dynamic is lending. Very few lenders, right? So you shrink your buying pool because you may have 1 out of 5 banks that perform on co-op opportunities. So there are greater restrictions, and I think it's a harder to get out. But at the end of the day, it is an opportunity to own a percentage of something. But then you got to figure when I go to sell, how am I getting out? You shrink your buying, you shrink the asset to liquidate the asset. It's dwindled down.
Right. And that's the scary part for me. And I think that's why, I get real cautious about it, and I'm in these meetings and I hear about this stuff and I get really upset because people are like, oh, this is a great idea. And I'm like, no, this is not a great idea for our people. Like, we need our people to have real home ownership. We need them to have real value, something that they can write off. And typically what happens is, and I'm not saying for San Francisco, but typically sometimes these co-ops, the real owners of it over time vote to change the things, and those people get moved out or they get their portions bought out and they got it, you know what I mean? So it's really not good. I really want to keep pushing and reiterating, trying to get real home ownership for the people to get them back into San Francisco instead of these little co-ops. And I just know how our people is, and this I hear so many complaints about people living in these townhouses stacked on top of each other. That's just not our living. So glad to hear that perspective for you. I just more information just wanted to get, because there's a lot of people who watch and
Yes,
there's a lot
sir.
of people who are unsure about it and don't know. And we just want to, educate people on both sides because we have people in power, people in positions voting on this stuff and,
Mhm.
and making these decisions, man. Now, I just don't think they're always best for our people.
Yeah, man. So like I said, man, you just got to understand what works for you, your family, your daily needs. That's the essential part, and then you can narrow it down to what to go look for and how to get in. So, but yeah, I'm here to man answer any questions. Even if you're working with a realtor, that's perfectly fine. If you got a question, yeah, I'm all about sharing, man. I think it's enough for everybody to eat. And I'm not mad if you got another realtor, but if you got a question, I feel like I got an answer, then I'll share it. So tap in if you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, I'm here to share
Cool, cool,
it.
cool.
Yeah.
Rico, you got anything else before we close this out?
No, I just wanted to say to you that co-op is a good opportunity for individuals who are on the baby stages of it, right? So you got individuals who are in housing developments like projects, right? Turning those into co-ops to give them the opportunity, even though we know that the equity isn't that much, but it still gives them the opportunity at some point to be able to transition to where John is.
Yeah. Both sides of the conversation.
Well,
It gotta be both sides of the
yeah,
conversation.
that is both sides of the conversation. And
Yeah.
again, that's what we here doing here at both sides of the
Yeah.
conversation. We are actually trying to educate our people. That's why we put on all of these financial series. We're trying to educate our people how to get out of debt, how to build wealth, how to save. And it starts with eliminating debt, staying out the Birkin store, staying out the Gucci store, stacking your money and making some sound investments. But no, that's true, Rico. I mean, for some people, that's a good opportunity to get started. But I'm always thinking about overall, and like Derrick talked about, a lot of us that live in those situations most likely have kids. And in America, we're trying to close up this wealth gap. And to do it, we have to leave generational wealth. We have to give our kids a head start. And that's why we just want to keep educating people, giving them information, inspiring them, getting them motivated, knowing all the loopholes and getting all the information so that they get a fair head start. Because we know in the Black and brown community, that's the only thing that keeps us a lot of times from making that leap is a lack of information. So we appreciate you, Derrick, for
Oh
coming on,
man.
giving the
Thank you.
information to the community. It's very important for our people as we excel in our personal life to come back to the community and volunteer and give back this type of information because it's very important. And that's what me and Rico, we believe here. No matter how high you get, you have to definitely come back and feed the people because you can't lead the community if you don't feed the community. So very important. But Rico, if there's nothing else, we could go ahead and close it out. Just want to let everybody know this Sunday, we're going to have our Sunday conversation at 2 p.m. We're going to have a follow-up conversation about all of the propositions that passed or did pass. Hopefully, we'll have an answer who the president of the United States is by Sunday. We'll be talking about all the different counties, so you guys could tap in and just kind of go over a post election, see how people feel, where we going to move forward as a country, as a community. Should be definitely a great conversation and topic. Also, our YouTube channel is up. This educational video will be posted there. Some of our previous educational videos, if you missed, are there. Some of our Sunday conversations are there. Our previous hidden gem shows are there. So definitely reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at YouTube. That's our YouTube channel. We have some of that information there. And then mentors. Every show we're just going to keep mentioning it. We're looking for women mentors. We're going to have our virtual mentoring group kicking off soon. We're looking for women to come mentor 14 through 25, 24-year-old females. If you have it in your heart or you've been thinking about it and you've been wanting to somehow give back to the young women in our community, and you're a woman with that type of passion and that desire, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. We'll hook you up with our team. We're looking for some women who want to step up virtually. You can remote in wherever you at and mentor these young ladies. So I think it's a good opportunity. No geographical holdups. Wherever you at, as long as you have a Zoom link, you can get in and mentor some young ladies who need some good information from some powerful women. So again, we are looking for women mentors. Reach us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. You can reach us at both sides of the conversation at all social media handles. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you can find us. And then tonight, if you saw this brother's amazing presentation tonight, and you have a presentation that you want to present to the community and educate our community in the Bay Area, we say lace up your boots. If you want to lace up the boots of our Black and brown community, no matter what topic it is, what professional background you in, we are looking to educate our people on everything. So whatever you have knowledge on, if you have a PowerPoint presentation, you want to educate the people, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. And we would love to have you come on one of our educational Thursdays and give our community some game and information. And they'll be reaching out to you. And then this Tuesday coming up, Tuesday at 7 p.m., we will be continuing with our hidden gems. Last Tuesday, we had to let the people go out and vote and do what they needed to do for the voting. But this Tuesday, we will be back on with some hidden gems for the community. If you are a Black and brown business and you would like to promote your business on this platform and get some people that you might not have patronizing your business, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. We're looking for all business owners. We don't care how big your business is. If you have one employee, if you have 20 employees, or you have just you. If you want to promote your business so people can come spend money in your business, because we want our Black and brown people to patronize your business and spend our dollars in our community to help uplift you and build your product. We got Rico's daughter, Miss Z. She's doing all of her glitter and stuff. We had her on last Tuesday promoting her lip gloss, organic lip gloss. For all you ladies, look, Rico got it up there on the screen. We want to support our young sister. She is 11 years old and she's making her own lip gloss. We don't want y'all going to the Mac store making Mac rich. We don't want y'all going to Kylie Jenner making Kylie Jenner rich. We want y'all to reach out to Rico daughter and buy some of that nice organic lip gloss that don't come off and hydrate your lips and all kind of stuff. Might get an extra kiss. You might get an extra kiss with that one. But reach out to Rico, reach out to Mazai. She's all over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Check out our last week video. She put her business card, her information up. She is a young sister, a young business owner. She is making it happen. Please reach out to her, get her orders in. Let's get her Cash App ringing. Let's make the young lady proud. Let's turn her into the successful businesswoman that we need her to be in our community so she can lead other young ladies and inspire them. So with all that being said, thank you. God bless. Happy that Rico's back. Continue to keep praying for us. Even though we back, we still all need prayer in these times. And hopefully we'll find out who's running this country or trying to run this country in the upcoming week. We love y'all. Peace and love, Black unity, Black power, all that good stuff. We see y'all next week. God bless y'all.
Peace.
Yeah.